Hey, people have been asking me, what you guys been doing during the break without the show? Like, what did you get into any new hobbies or anything? And I did it. I started to get into some cowboy shit, and I also grew out my hair to go along with it because I felt like hair is you need to have hair in that field to be respected. Otherwise, the rodeo clowns laugh at you. What have you been up to? You got anything new you've been doing?
Oh, wait, yeah. Hold on one sec, Peach. Hey, Frankie. No. I said 10 G's, 10 grand. Yeah. No, I want Carolina +4. Carolina +4. Okay. I'll raise you. There you go. Oh, sorry, Peach. I'm playing a game here. I just had to put in some bets. Man, ever since you came here for the wedding and you hit it big on the casino app there, I've just been thinking, how can I make a little extra cash? So, man, I'm a sharp bettor now, baby. It's really rolling in, Peach. I need help.
Yeah, you do. You just bet on Carolina +4. Come on, what are you thinking about?
Welcome, everybody, to Court Cousins, episode 67. My name is Kyle. Man, it feels good to be joined by that man, my dashing, my daring cousin, Jason the Peach. It's time for another season, Peach. What do we have in store for episode 67 and those second cousins out there today, sir?
Well, first of all, happy 3-year. We've finished 3 years. We're starting year number 4 right here, our Suggs campaign, or maybe our Skiles campaign.
Okay.
Whatever, if you're old head or new head. Either way, on today's show, we've got the OKCP check-in as usual. Got to find out what's been going on with each other and see how we're doing on that end. The social media roundup, as always, and now with my new roping habits and skills, it should be even better. We're going to flash it back to our very first episode, something we used to do on the show once in a while, Magic the Card Gathering, to get us talking about some things and showing you some of our card collection. And then it all comes to a head at the end in the large ending. It's large. It's just large. It's not, doesn't have any other adjectives attached to it today. It's just a large ending. And I'll leave it at that.
Oh, man. I am so excited for the start of this season. It's good to be back in this chair talking with you today, Peach. I am even more excited for all the games I want to catch live, especially one particular game, Peach, for Court Cousins Night, December 26th, the day after the little baby Jesus comes into the world. These two little babes, Peach and I, are going to be down in Orlando catching our Orlando Magic live against those detested Miami Heat. Get them out of there. We need to keep those fans out of the Kia Soul Center, so join us. Come down, hang out with Peach and I. We try to get the most affordable tickets. We're sitting in the second tier. It should be a good night of family fun for all. Well, keep the family away from me, depending if you have small children. But they're welcome. They can come hang. We're always going to we got some giveaways, and it's going to be a good time. We're going to go down. We're going to cut down the net again, as always. And, yeah, Peach, just so excited for that. The folks that make that happen, in part, are our wonderful Patreons. So I think we'll get right into those shout-outs for those special people. Shout out to all of our second cousins and all stars on the Patreon. Bulby the Don, Paulo and Franz's warmth, Dylan, Magic player history. Shout out to Jay, Matthew Bell, Dan Young, Gloria, and Damien.
Yes, thank you to all of those who continue to support us. And we're going to really start to hopefully crank it up this season. This should be a good season of Magic basketball. But yeah, Court Cousins Night. Come on out. I promise you, if we work blue, it's going to be Orlando Magic blue. But if you do bring your kids, we will keep it clean. And I personally, I enjoy that. So, come and join us. It's a better ticket price, and you get a chance to go on the net, even if to cut the net after the game. Even if you don't like us, you probably hate the Miami Heat, right? So why don't you just come and steal a seat from one of their fans and give them what for? Let's do it.
Hell yeah. Okay.
Hey, so here's the thing. It has nothing to do with Oklahoma City, but it sounds a lot like it. It's the OKCP check-in. It's where we do a social emotional check-in. This is based on Kyle being a teacher, and that's a new thing they're doing in schools now where they care about the mental health of their students. What a concept. Wish they'd have had that when I was young. But anyway, we do a little version of it here on the show where we show you a picture of, in this case right now, Contavious Caldwell Pope. And then we try to match our emotion to the picture in some way. Just to give you a little background in case you're new to the show, that's how that one works. We've done other players in the past. We like to pick a new one every season. It's OKC right now. So how you feeling, my guy?
All right, Peach. Thank you for that run-in. That was a spectacular run-in. For the Are You OKCP check-in, I have a photograph here. Yes, he's in the Laker purple and gold. I don't love that, but we have Kenny, how he likes to be called. And shoot, do we need to are we okay then with this check-in? Because he wants to be called Kenny, Peach. So are we still okay to do the Are You OK CP check-in? I don't want to offend the man. He just arrived. He's been requested to call himself Kenny.
Kenny doesn't work with the verbiage of what we're doing, but the OKCP does, and most people still call him KCP. So
all right.
You don't always get to be called what you want. Sometimes, like, I go to work and I'm like, well, I wish everyone would call me Peach, but they're going to call me Jason because that's my name and they don't know any better. So it is what it is.
Can't always get what you want, but you get what you need. And right now for the Are You OK CP check-in, we need OK CP. I got LeBron James and Kenny at a high five in the Lakers unis. Peach, it is the beginning of the season. I feel a lot of excitement going into this season, but more so, I'm feeling excitement just to be hanging out with you right now on the interwebs, getting to talk, getting to riff, getting to talk about the team that we love, the Orlando Magic, and having some laughs along the way. I am not the best at staying in touch. Orlando Magic friends and family out there, I'm not the best texter. So if we've, come across friends out there that we have made, I'm sorry. And Peach, I don't reach out maybe as much as I should. And so one of the driving purposes of this show for me has always been to spend more time with my cousin, because I think you are freaking LeBron James, man. You are the most hilarious guy that I know, and it's always great to spend time with you. Spending time with family and friends is fantastic medicine. So make sure you're checking in with your people out there, Peach, and I'm so excited to be back on with the King Peach.
Wow. This is a tough act to follow. That's why usually you go second, but she couldn't handle the intro today, so I had to step in.
Join the Patreon. You'll see the outtake.
For that is very nice. That's nice to hear. Don't beat yourself up. I talk to you more than I talk to pretty much anybody else in life. So even though we took a little break, I still communicate with you way more than a lot of other people. I have that same problem. I'm not the best at keeping up with people. You get stuck in what your daily routine is and what you're doing. The next thing you know, a couple months have blown by and you haven't talked to someone who's like a good friend. So it does happen from time to time. Luckily, if they're a good enough friend or family member, they get it. Yeah. Right. Like we're all in the same thing here. So for my OKCP check-in, I picked this one of Kenny, if you will.
There he is.
He's in a squat. He looks like he's kind of catching his breath there for a moment, right? Like he's probably been in somebody's shorts playing some solid D. And he's like, let me take a break right quick while we take this quick timeout. They're going to inbound the ball, something like that. And that's kind of where I'm at. It's been our busy season, honestly, the off season. In the start of training camp, where for about 3 weeks, the Dallas Stars told me when I work. And I just kind of showed up and covered all the practices, and it was a lot of work. I am glad it is behind us, and I'm glad their season starts this week. And I'm just glad that that's passed, and now we can get into something that's a little more familiar and a little easier to handle. But I'm glad it's behind me, and moving on. It was good. It was a good workout, though. I set a record for steps in a month.
Wow.
Last month, which is pretty impressive, seeing as I didn't move during one of those months. And also this little squat, he seems very solid, right? Like you probably couldn't go knock him over right there. He seems pretty sturdy.
Yeah.
And this is our 4th year of the show. But it is the first time that I'm in the same place that I was the year prior. So we started the show and I was in Boston, and then the second year I was in Bridgeport with you. And last year I was in Dallas, and look, here we are. I'm still here. So
yes,
we're solid. We're ready, and we're ready to move forward. And it's our preseason too, a little bit. We're getting back into it. I had to dust off all this stuff, and I had started piling stuff up over in this corner. I had to kind of redecorate, move some stuff, and be like, all right, I got to use this thing again. So but I'm glad to do it. I'm happy to be back, and let's round up some stuff because there's a lot.
Woo! You got your lasso out, Peach? It's time to go into the social media roundup. This is that time where Peach and I, mostly Peach this time, scour the interwebs with that lasso and look for your posts about our beloved Orlando Magic. Peach, I don't want to bury the lead here. Let's go right into it. The franchise cornerstone. We've got our boy, P5, Paolo Banchero. When he was asked, this is a post from Orlando Magic HQ, our buddies over there. When he was asked by Jay Williams about himself in 5 years, Paolo replied, NBA champ, hopefully MVP, and one of the faces of the league, the faces of basketball of the new generation. You know, I led off with the Kenny and LeBron slapping high fives. We got that crew, that KD, LeBron crew, Steph Curry. They just had their swan song in the NBA, or in the the Olympics. That was kind of the last hurrah for that group. They've got another couple years here, and then they are out. And who is going to be that face? We've got a guy here in Orlando, and man, does it feel good going into the season with Paolo Banchero on the roster. I'm just beyond impressed by everything you hear about Paolo, the way that he carries himself, the way that he is grounded with his family. He doesn't seem like he's letting the hype get to him, Peach. He spent a lot of time, I think, after some of his travels, spreading the P5 brand back at home in Seattle. And before you get worried, fans, it's still a long ways off. We've got Paolo here for quite some time. But, you know, I love that. He's getting back to the family, getting back to the roots. I think that he can be that superstar. It really feels like he can. He's the type of guy that can get a bucket. We saw it in the playoffs, and the whole team respects it, Peach. There's no confusion about who's the guy. Even when they talk to Franz, really, who just got a max deal, he even defers, it seems, to Paolo Banchero, at least on the offensive end, as the face of this franchise. But with Paolo and Franz also as the tent poles of this organization, woo, Circus is going to be in town for quite some time, Peach. Quite some time.
Yeah, it's good to see a lot of people speaking positively about Paolo in the offseason. It's part of his slow rise. I think it's a lot of number one overall picks usually get thrust into this spotlight of I must be a superstar from day one. He didn't have to do that, yet kind of was anyway. Really stayed off the main radar for a long time. One could argue he's still not quite on it, but he's on the cusp now. He's in the conversation. People are talking about best power forwards in the league right now going into the season. He's at least top 3 on pretty much most of those lists. That's a big deal. That means that everyone's noticing what's going on. There is no doubt about he is the leader. He's already become that guy that, like, whenever you see a jersey or out, you see a Golden State Warrior jersey, you're like, oh, it's going to be a number 30. Back in the day, it used to be, you see a Bulls jersey, oh, it's going to be a 23. If you saw a Bulls jersey that was like a 33 Scottie Pippen, you'd be like, whoa, this is impressive.
That's
Paolo's
respect.
already become Paolo's already become our guy that it's like now when you see a Magic jersey in the wild, the new one, you're expecting it to be a 5 at this point. So anything different means, you know, you're a big fan like us, right? And most of you that are probably watching the show, right? But Paolo jerseys are going to start to go up as people see this guy more. And I think it's pretty fitting that you used a picture of James in the beginning. I know a lot of people in the Magic community, not LeBron James fans, but from a game standpoint and a player standpoint, he reminds me of a young LeBron James making a team better around him. And I think that right now, this team that's around a young Paolo is a lot better than the team that was around a young LeBron. So that kind of gives me hope that, like, his want for being in the Eastern Conference Finals is not that far off a dream. It really is not. It is maybe one playoff upset away in the second round from actually being a thing that could happen. And anything's possible. Our team has shown growth from, you know, the bench players all the way to we know what we've got now. We've kind of got rid of a lot of the guys that didn't seem like they had a fit here. Whether we like them or not, we're now moving on. And this is our centerpiece, and he's our guy. And there's no doubt about it. And it's good to know that right now, because we haven't had this in Orlando for a while, we have that centerpiece to build around. It's a good one. And now we can just worry about the side stuff. We'll start worrying about the bench. Who's you know, starting at point guard. You know, we can worry about the little stuff because we know we got a guy that can get buckets at will.
Absolutely, Peach. I thought we almost had an early growth flower sighting when you were just talking about the growth of the team. I got really giddy over here for a second, but going from Paolo's insights about his career, let's talk about it. You just alluded to him talking about the Eastern Conference Finals. Another one here from Orlando Magic HQ, our boy. I'm skipping down, Peach. It was him being asked about his expectations, not for his career, but for this season. And he says, my very first year was Rookie of the Year. Second was an All-Star. But what I really want to get to is the Eastern Conference Finals, get deep into the playoffs. You can see just even within that quote, I don't know if it's a direct quote necessarily, but a paraphrasing of what he said, the maturation, right? You come into the league, he's like, all right, I'm going to work on me. I'm going to become this Rookie of the Year. Did it. All-Star. Now he's gotten a taste of what success means, and he wants to take this team deep into the playoffs. This reminds me of something that Moritz said in one of the post-game interviews when he was talking about the difference between training camp last year and this year, or someone asked him about previous camps and this camp. And he said, it's not really much of a difference, but what there is, and I'm looking at my notes here, is he says the difference is there is more intuition at this. He says there's more clue. And at first I thought he was going into a board game reference there for a second because he had a nice pause. And I'm like, it was Professor Plum with the pipe in the kitchen. But he wasn't going into a clue allusion there. He said, we have more of a clue regarding where we want to go. The team, Paolo Banchero and this team, have seen where they want to go. And Pish, I think it's even more emphatic because of how close the team got and the tragic way in which they lost that lead in a Game 7. You could almost taste it. You could almost feel the confetti go into the second round in the locker room, and then you're let down. And you don't get by a Cavs team that just had more experience. They had more established guys, and they were just a further step along. But now we've taken our bumps, and we're ready, Peach. Sorry, it's off to you now.
No, that's a great point. I've said this for years, but I think in particular it's good for a young team to have some failures. And I will use the most recent young team that had a deep run, the Memphis Grizzlies, who kind of had a great season. They kind of got upset in the playoffs, and they just didn't rebound from that. Like, they didn't use that they let that break them. That either those moments will either break a young team or they will strengthen a young team. From what I've heard, it's strengthened our team. Now the results will be there on the scoreboards all season long to see if that in fact actually moves us up the chain. But that's got to be the next step for us, is using that as motivation. All great teams, I think, throughout history have had a stumble before they got to go to the championship level. So I think that's a good statement from him there to notice that, okay, now it's a little different because the stakes have been raised, right? The odds have been changed on Orlando Magic games. And so now there's a different kind of pressure to deliver other than just trying to work on your game and hopefully try to win some basketball games. Now it's about hitting that next step, hitting that next level, winning playoff series. And I think everyone's got the good mindset for it. I think we're in a good place going into the season, but again, it'll translate in the win-loss column.
Okay. Let's go right into the win-loss column, Peach. Thank you for that transition. Let's talk about, everyone's projecting standings. If things could be what P5 says and we could potentially see ourselves in the Eastern Conference Finals, or at least that's the goal, what will be the standings? Let's see here. We have @MagicWired here on Instagram, and they have their 2024 NBA standings predictions. I'm going to make a little of a homer call on this one. You got the Celtics as number 1, the Knicks number 2. There's our Orlando Magic at 3, 55-27. The Sixers at 4, the Pacers at 5, the Cavs, then the Bucks, then the Heat, then the Bulls, and blah, 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 then the other teams. Peach is shaking his head. Peach, you have the first swing at this one.
Yeah, I mean, look, I like that. This is a Magic-based account. Obviously, you're going to want to try to put us up there in the top 3 or 4. I get that, but yeah. I really do think we could be slotting in at the 4 or 5 spot, but it's going to be close at the end, sort of like it was last season where, we could have been second, with a couple weeks to go, or as low as like 6th. And we ended up 5th. I just feel like the Bucks are too low on this. 45 and 37 doesn't seem right. Dame Lillard is going to come out with the biggest chip on his shoulder he's ever had. He's probably actually going to be 2 inches taller now because of that chip. I think the Sixers adding Paul George are going to be a lot better and challenge for that top spot with the Celtics. And I also think the Knicks got a lot better in the short term with Cat. Coming in there, because he's not maybe a good big game player in the playoffs, but as far as in the regular season, that guy puts up numbers and he's a problem. And it's going to be a problem for the Eastern Conference. I think that trade is pretty good for both teams, honestly, when you look at it. I think in the long term, I think that's going to work out okay for Minnesota as well, because of the draft picks, especially because it's Detroit's draft pick. So it's because I do believe with this Detroit standing here, although I'd like to hope for their sake, they don't have to go through another season like this.
Yeah,
I don't know listening, if he has this bad for this long.
Yeah, that for those listening, Magic Wired has the Pistons at 17-65. Man, that would be. You got to send condolences over there, man. Thoughts and prayers up to Detroit.
Real bad for a long time, and it's going to be hard for them to keep a fan base when that continues. You can have a couple shit seasons. The first season of our podcast was one of the worst in Orlando Magic history. We're still here, but. Yeah, the average fan may fall off during some of those years, and if you put together 4 or 5 of those, people are definitely going to go to sleep on you. But yeah, I would think the Celtics, Knicks, Sixers, and maybe even the Bucks above us. But I feel like I'm disrespecting the Pacers, who, by the way, beat us in the playoffs last year by not allowing them to be ahead of us. But I feel like we'll be better than them in the long run this year.
Wait, you said the Pacers ahead of us? Not paying them respect? Did you mean the Cavs? The Pacers didn't beat us in the playoffs.
Oh, sorry, it was the Cavs. Yeah, see, the Cavs are very forgettable. They do belong below us, but the Pacers made it further in the playoffs than us. Is kind of what I was getting at.
Okay, yep.
They actually had a better playoff run, so you would think, okay, well, they're in the Final Four of the Eastern Conference last year. They should be in the top 5 this year, but I think I've got them at like 6 or 7, and I still don't have respect for the Cavs despite them beating us in the first round to continue what they're doing. I think they have a lot of holes that are going to show themselves during the season.
Yeah, it's tough to predict this out. It's been very clearly stated from the team, Pish, that the goal is top 4 because everyone saw how home court advantage played out in the playoffs in our series. The home team won every single time. And talking about lessons, and I think Coach Mosley was talking about what do we take from the most recent thing? What do we take over? What do we carry over? What do we bring with us? What's the learning that's happening? The learning there was very clear. Hey, get that home court advantage. It can pay dividends in the playoff when you get people in the Kia Soul Center just going batshit crazy. The players have realized that, man, Orlando is alive and home court advantage is a thing all season long, but especially in the playoffs. It's tough. It's tough to pick here. The Celtics are going to be without Kristaps until December, ish. Can you rattle off some more wins early than they can? I do like the Knicks, like you said. Short term, the Knicks are looking better. Cat in the regular season, you add like a 20-10 guy there. That doesn't seem to make any team worse, but their depth is much abridged now without Dante DiVincenzo. So we'll see how that plays off. One nick up here, injury here or there. They have a much shallower team now, but I still think they're in the top 4. 76ers, I think they know now, hey, we need to be healthy in the playoffs. Does that mean that they're sitting Embiid and resting Embiid and Paul George throughout the season? These teams that are ahead of us, they have their blemishes. They're older than us. We've been young. Knock on wood, we've been pretty healthy the last couple seasons. So there are some opportunities to sneak into the top 4. I think the Bucks are being really disrespected here. Damian Lillard, another season in Milwaukee. He went through a divorce last season. I mean, that's got to be shit. The guy was moving to a new town. Like, man, now he's got his feet under him. The big question is Chris Middleton with your B team. And for those of you just joining us, Peach lived in Milwaukee for some time. So the Bucks are one of his B teams. I don't know. I don't like the gamble that they did by letting Drew Holiday go for, it seemed like, Chris Middleton. And then what happens? Drew Holiday goes and wins a championship. I thought he was more integral to that than Chris Middleton. So they bet a lot on Middleton, and we'll see if he comes through. He's been really injured the past couple of years. Hopefully he comes out of it and he's healthy this year, because I want to see good competition in the Eastern Conference. But as you said, kind of, I see him right in that 4-5 competition. I think there's going to be 3 teams that will squeak ahead of us, but hey, why not us? Why not now, Peach? Right?
And I know our fans don't want to hear it, but Jimmy Butler's still on the Miami Heat, who we haven't mentioned at all in this. And even if they come in at 8th or 7th, they're going to be a problem. I don't want to play them in the playoffs ever.
Yeah.
So, not as long as Jimmy Butler's playing, because that guy's a different man in the playoffs. Someone kidnaps his family every year, and he has to play or they don't live. And his family's alive and well. So.
So that's another plug, Peach. Come out to Court Cousins Night, December 26th, when the Magic take on the Heat. Big inter-Florida rivalry. Going to be a good one. Woo! Okay, let's go. Let's sneak into that. I mean, last year, we could have snuck into the last game. Could have been 2nd or 3rd was the highest we could have done if we wouldn't have barfed up so many games there at the end. That was tough.
Yeah, our end of the season was not as good as it could have been, and I think that hopefully those are like the lessons that we're learning, that got to finish strong, because we could have easily been 2nd or 3rd and been looking at some home court advantage in that first round, and obviously that could have been the difference, because it was in the series we did play in.
Yeah, no, every game is important, and I've heard that in the interviews from the sound, the practice sound, the preseason sound that they've been putting out, and everyone's been kind of talking about that. So you can tell that Mosley's been drilling this idea that, hey, a random game in January, quote unquote random, isn't really random. Every single game is important, no matter where it is in the season, no matter who it's against. Cole Anthony talked about how the coaches have been letting them run, play a lot of 5-on-5, work stuff out on their own. These coaches have put the infrastructure in to trust the players' maturity and work it out. And so, as Cole said, we want to hit the ground running. I feel like this team's going to come out hot. Hey, we might surprise some people. We might sneak into the top 3. I don't think it's crazy for Magic Wired. I just think might be. We might be drinking a little too much of the Kool-Aid just with that preseason excitement that all fandoms are feeling, and probably 4 or 5 might be more realistic. The most realistic thing for us.
To their credit, though, just the fact that we can have the conversation and say it's not crazy to think we could be 3 is awesome. Right. Because that is nowhere near where we were 4 years ago when we started this thing.
No. Like you said, when we started, we were just watching individual players. We're like, ooh, who's this guy Franz? Where the fuck is he coming from? Deutschland. Yeah, Deutschland. But, and now, as you say, Peach, any night can be our night. There's no team where you're going into it thinking, oh, they got us. Like, we're playing the Celtics. Like, no chance we can win. No, any team we can beat on any given night.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay, a big factor in the success of this team, Peach, is going to be the defense. Top 5 defense last year. Got a guy named Kentavious Caldwell-Pope coming through, who has made all defensive teams in the past. That guy, Jalen Suggs, made 2nd team all defense last year. And this is a little ditty from Moose. I don't know where you found this. Is this a Bucks thing? So it's just Moose_NBA posted this. Just a survey, best defensive duo in the league. They have Jrue Holiday and Derek White, both all defensive players in Boston. Suggs and KCP, Anunoby and Mikal Bridges, and Lou Dort and Andrew Caruso. And who won this here? Anunoby and Bridges won. No. Holiday and White won it, 42%. Anunoby, Bridges, 34%. Dort and Caruso at 15%. And then Suggs and KCP, coming in at 10% of the votes. What do you think, Peach? These people need to be smacked around a little bit? This is last place on this list. I don't know.
Well, you can see where my vote went by the check mark there. But Holiday and White, I think, deserve that nod from the average person because they won the championship. And let's be honest, Derek White is not an amazing offensive player. He's okay, but he's on that team for defense. And look, what you said earlier about Drew Holiday, the minute the Bucks got rid of him, I was worried.
Yeah.
Now, it was to bring in Dame Lillard, so I was kind of like, I took a little of the sting off it. But I knew Drew Holiday was the key reason that they won that championship, because he was the ball handler, he was the facilitator, and he was in guys' shorts. He was a problem. On defense, he was great. You may see all the Giannis dunks and blocks and that, but honestly, he was the key guy there. You're pointing at me, so what's up?
I'm pointing at you. You know the camera was on you big sexy bastard.
All right, I didn't know if you were about to break in with some breaking news, like back to the back. But yeah, Og and Bridges, I'm not sure how they got that many votes. Maybe this was circulated in Canada because they're big on moose. Maybe that's where this hails from. I do follow a lot of Canadian things, so perhaps that's what it is. A lot of time I follow so many Canadian things for hockey and stuff that occasionally I'll see stuff that like about the Toronto Raptors and I'll just be like, what are you people talking about? They're so delusional about their past and who they are. And this is coming from a team who's basically done nothing, but at least we've made the finals a couple times. Dort and Caruso, that's a good duo, but I think they're under the radar, same as us. Like, right? Like a lot of people are they've seen KCP. They may not know Suggs. He's not a household name yet. Same thing with probably Dort. Caruso is maybe a little more well-known from his days with the Lakers. Mm-hmm. But I think people were just doing this based on what they saw recently, which is Holiday and White. And then again, I'm pretty sure this is Canadian because Og and Bridges don't really belong on this list. I'm not sure what's up with that. They're good on defense, but they don't belong on the list.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting list because every team except Og and OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby plays like the 4, and he's going to play some 5 on defense because Karl Anthony Towns is soft as tissue over there. So I guess Moose is just talking about the best duo, but the other 3 are the perimeter defenders of these teams. So that Og and Bridges seems a little out of place. It seems like Moose is maybe trying to fit this in. Maybe he might be Canadian, or maybe he just might be loud like New Yorkers. You know, although Moose are quiet, they're kind of peaceful. They just kind of hang out in the back. So I don't know. I was thinking maybe Moose is a Knicks fan.
Must be hit one with your car and then you die.
Yeah, not good. Not good. Grandma got run over by a No, that's a reindeer, not a moose. So it's a little weird because for us, Suggs and KCP, yes, they're in the conversation, ladies and gentlemen. Potentially the best perimeter defensive duo in the league. And then
I think they should have changed the wording of the perimeter D, because I think if you're going to talk about a defensive duo, you need to think about guys like Rudy Gobert and whoever else they have. Or in our case, Jonathan Isaac and Suggs would be a better pairing.
This bastard, he just took my freak. That was my point, Peesh. That was my point. That yes, we have Suggs and KCP on the perimeter, but a man who's not being named on here is someone that Cole Anthony, that electrifying man, calls the big anomaly, which is Jonathan Isaac. And Cole emphatically said at a presser that the big anomaly, J.I., is the best defender he's ever seen. Just like deadpan, with Jalen Suggs, KCP, all these great defenders on the team, Cole Anthony, never one to disrespect, just straight out says, Jonathan Isaac, best defender I've ever seen in my life. Mm-hmm. And so with this team is set up. I mean, it was top 5 last year, but Peesh, with the addition of Kenny, this is something else. If you happen to be so lucky, opposing guard, to work your ass off and somehow catch through 4 different picks, you get around one of Suggs or Kenny, then you just have to deal with Franz Wagner and Jonathan Isaac. I mean, this team, I love the heart from Jonathan Isaac. I mean, from Jonathan Isaac, yes, and Jalen Suggs. In an interview, Jalen Suggs, he was asked, what can you do better on the defensive end? And this man says, we can do everything better. He said, I can get better everywhere. I believe that you can always improve everywhere. This guy's mindset is freaking steel, and it's steel sharpening steel here at practice. There's no free points at Orlando Magic practice games. And I think Jet Howard was talking about that too. This isn't like other teams, where they like to run up the score during practice. These guys are working hard every single day, and I think that's just going to pay dividends for this team. Not only the defensive side of the ball, which I think the goal is to be number one. Cole said, hey, we can be number one. Why can't we be number one? Yeah, why the fuck not? But also for the offense.
Well, we're gonna have to be near number one because we didn't really add a lot of scoring.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's true.
So we got to keep this defensive thing going. We got to put up like I said before, Jamal's hoping that we can put up a touchdown early, get that extra point, and then just sit on that 7-0 lead.
Mm-hmm.
It could happen.
What's the lowest scoring game?
Suggs has always struck me as a guy who, like, when you tell him he can't do something, he's gonna do it anyway. He's gonna find a way to do it and get better at it. And I had that vibe on him when I saw him playing with Gonzaga, and I really liked who he was as a young man. And that's why I became so excited to get back on board with our team when we finally had some guys. Yeah, because I also liked Cole Anthony that, like, were on this team that, like, I believed in. Like, were they the most talented in the world? Maybe not right now, but they were going to work to get there, and they were going to use their talents to the best of their ability. And I don't think there's anything you could ask Jalen Suggs to do on the basketball court that he's not going to try to do to get better. And we've seen it already over the course of his first few seasons with us, that he's changed things. So, like, when I hear the slander about him not being our starting point guard, I say, you go ahead and take that outside. And as a matter of fact, I will keep fighting you inside this building as well. Even if it means we get kicked out because you're dumb. Let the man cook. Let's see what he's got first before you make this decision that he's just not a point guard. Because I think he can be whatever we want him to be, except for maybe like a 7-foot center, which is just physically impossible. Anything else, I think Jalen Suggs. But if you told him to guard the 5, I think Jalen Suggs would be up in his shorts.
I got you, coach. I'm there, coach.
Right.
Yes, sir, coach.
That's the kind of player I want to give the ball and let him have that chance to prove those people wrong. And I know that I feel that he will.
One of those people to which Peach is alluding is on the screen right now. It's Father Keanu says, Jalen shouldn't be the point guard, Peach. This isn't going to be a popular opinion to anyone but Dirt, but I'm pretty positive he doesn't have the vision to be the lead guard. I'd much prefer him at the 2, but we have KCP there now. I just don't think this ends well. And, you know, my message, I guess, to Father Keanu is, where is the love, Father? Where is the love, Father Keanu, for all of your children, including Jalen Suggs? I mean, this man, like P said, he is the hardest worker in the gym. Another quote here, when Jalen was asked directly about this, is here from Mason Williams, who's been covering the Orlando Magic for Sports Illustrated, SI. Go check him out. Jamal Mosley said Thursday that he and Magic guard Jalen Suggs are spending more time in the film room together to get a better understanding of how Suggs is seeing the game, with him transitioning to more of a lead guard role. Asked Suggs today about the feedback that's brought so far. So I believe in Jalen Suggs' ability to become more of a lead guard. Now, I've expressed some consternation about the offseason too. Okay, Father Keanu. So I'm not up here in my ivory tower throwing down stones, okay? He who is without sin, and that is certainly not me, sir. So I will not cast the first stone, Father. But I have been critical of the offseason. P5, Paolo Banchero, the guy we led the show with, said, hey, I really don't want to have to take the ball up and get everyone into the offense. I don't want to have to be that lead guard. And so we were thinking, hey, let's go out, get some. Maybe we'll end up with a Tyus Jones here who can work in somebody. And Peach is just shaking his head, I bet, already. I can't see him quite, but meet Kyle bringing up Tyus Jones again.
Yeah, bring up Tyus Jones while Markelle Fultz doesn't have a contract. That doesn't
that was for later, Peach. I'm so sad. You had to bring that up right now. I'm talking about Jalen.
We don't have to talk about it now. I'm just saying. If you're going to talk about point guards, we can. My point is that, like, when Markelle was out on the court, he was a point guard that needed the ball. He was a ball dominant point guard. Our offense isn't really based in that. That's why Markelle wasn't a good fit for us, right? Like, he looked awkward out there sometimes because our offense is about, okay, we got the ball over half court. Now let's get it to our wings. Let's let them do work. Let's let Paolo do work. Let's do Franz do work. So I don't need Jalen Suggs to be a traditional point guard sitting there watching guys make the plays and then try to find who's open. That's not our offense. That's not what we do, right? We only need to put up a few points because we got the best defense in the NBA. So I just need guys that can get the ball up court, and KCP and Jalen Suggs can do that. And if you don't think so, you are totally 100% wrong. They can. And if for some reason they don't get that job done, we will figure that out in about 10 to 15 games, and a change will be made. Trust me.
Yeah.
But come on.
Well stated, Peach. Well stated. This team is built along reading what the offense is being given, reading how the cuts are happening, and making the right play no matter who you are on the floor. Everyone is expected to have playmaker chops. But yeah, I think Jalen Suggs has the credentials and the ability to get the ball to Paolo Banchero in some more advantageous, and Franz Wagner, sorry, Franz, in more advantageous positions where they're moving towards the hoop and they're able to make scoring a little easier. Because I think that's really what Paolo was expressing some frustration on maybe at the end of last season. Like, hey, let me make it easier for me. The guy was getting double teams. And I think Jalen Suggs with the shooting, we needed shooting, and with KCP, people aren't going to be able to sag off too far from either of those guys and double team Paolo Banchero all the time. And if they do, I think Jalen Suggs has developed into the shooter that will make them pay on a consistent basis. And all of a sudden, if you sag off them, don't be surprised to see Jalen Suggs scoring 16 to 20 points on a night. I think he can do it.
Got pretty easy to figure out what the Orlando Magic can't do throughout the course of the season. They can't shoot the three ball. Yeah. So it got real easy to go ahead, and whenever Paolo catches the ball inside the 3-point line, why don't you go ahead and double team that guy? Because whoever he's kicking the ball out probably ain't hitting the shot. So they have to step up in helping Paolo. Isn't necessarily getting the ball in a better spot. It's being able to hit open shots when they do try to double team him. You have to make it so that it's a penalty when they take one guy off to double team, and we weren't making them pay enough with shots to make them go away from that strategy. So if we can do that, then Paolo will get more one-on-ones, which he's going to win most of the time, because I think he's better than a lot of the players that he's going to be playing against.
Yeah.
That's got to be, that's a whole team effort thing. It's not just a point guard thing or any one man. It's a team thing.
Just one more thing on this piece before we move on. Jalen, when he came in, we tried to make him the point guard right away. And he was just, the game was moving too fast for him, like it does for many, many rookies, especially point guards. And I think that's where maybe some of Father Keanu and other Magic fans, including my own at times, have expressed anxiety about this, this change, or this not having got a clear point guard and making Jalen Suggs more that lead guard role. But hey, believe in this guy, Keanu. Believe in Jalen Suggs, the work ethic, the mindset that he has. If anyone can get it done, the game has slowed down for him, as you can tell. He's making all defensive teams now. And let's give it another shot. Let's see if he can do it now, 4 years in. I think he can. I think he can. When does he get that contract?
I believe in Jalen Suggs. Wrestling fans will get that reference.
Okay, I didn't get that one at all.
That was a fair amount that watch the show. They'll get it. If you mention his name, he appears. Hopefully, we can have him on the show. Anyway.
Damn, I just asked you a question. I wanted to ask you. Okay.
Yeah, I thought you were asking me if I believed in Jalen Suggs, which I do.
You do. Okay. All right. Good. All right, Peach. Well, it wouldn't be a Court Cousins show, especially a preseason show, without talking about jersey speculation. I mean, there might not be, two greater jersey connoisseurs out there. I know certainly, let me not speak for myself. Let me not hype myself up. But Peach, I mean, this man, he has been known to go full jersey oftentimes. And so if there's a sharper eye out there, you show them to me, and I'll show you you're a liar. Because Peach,
I care about uniforms.
Yeah,
I care about them. I know in all sports, I care about them. I like them if they look good, and it's not even a sport I like. Sometimes I'm like, hey, I respect that. And even if it's a team I don't like, sometimes I'm like, oh, that's a clean jersey. It looks awesome. So when it comes to our team, because we like to get jerseys, it's got to be something I'm willing to get, right? Like clearly we both were okay with this inclination of the orange one because we have it behind us today. But there were other orange ones that we just said no on. And then that Kingdom one they had last year, I don't think we have any of that stuff hanging up in any of our apartments. It never will. And I think it's probably on clearance racks right about now in Orlando because I don't think many people are digging that one. And so the big concern is that it seems like there's going to be a white version of that Kingdom jersey as our city edition jersey this year, which is installing zero faith in us. I didn't get a picture of it for the show, but I have seen the mock-up of just the white version of that jersey, and it is not impressive. It still uses the dark blue. It still uses the same font. It's a very strange. I do not know what is going on with that look. But I did see this thing that was posted on Reddit that said, I've seen the Magic rebrand and it was a massive letdown.
No.
I don't know what that means. I also found a pair of shorts for sale on Fanatic that were like the white version of the blue ones that we had last year, which would be good, right? Because the blue ones we had last year, the T-Mac era jerseys, those were good. And and I saw the white version of those jerseys on Fanatics. They're not paying for this sponsorship, but I'm just saying they're there. Why would they all of a sudden have those back in the store all of a sudden if that wasn't going to be what we did this year? I'd much rather see a white version of that jersey and skip that whole Kingdom thing. Somebody needs to go back to the drawing board with that whole concept.
It is odd. I think the Kingdom doesn't really make sense. Like that fantasy aspect of the lore, we're more of a go to the stars, you know, let's go with sci-fi. Let's go, you know, let's get weird and freaky with intergalactic travel. You know, the white of the last, you know, iteration of last year's jersey, like the T-Mac era, that would be interesting. Like that's not bad. I'm down for that. I don't mind it. I definitely don't want the Kingdom on the Rise thing. I don't understand the New Orleans font. That font just clearly is Bourbon Street. I mean, that's that font they were using. The New Orleans Pelicans already use that font. Why are we putting that on our jerseys? I don't get it. But I hope and Peach, this is my theory now. I'm not sure if you picked up on this. Peach, did you watch any of some of the content that the Magic were putting out? They were putting out kind of old school cuts. They put out the 1991 intro for the first game of the season. They put out just some old video of a newsreel when Daryl Armstrong and Penny Hardaway went golfing with Julius Erving right before preseason started. You'd love it. Any old heads out there who have been with the team since early, you know, late 80s, early 90s when the team inaugurated, go check it out. But Peach, that leads me to have a little sneaky hope that the pinstripes might be around the corner. And let me explain my theory, Peach, because the media team purposely put out those old school videos with the old school music, and now the outro music for all of the new team interviews is that old retro music. So I'm making the connection here, and I'm thinking, are you connecting that season, those old school early 90s seasons, with this team? They very much are through the music. And if they are just doing that just to be fun and there's no other connection, I'm going to be really disappointed, because I feel like this is a nice Easter egg that I've found. I'm sure you've seen it out there, Second Cousins. It makes me really excited. And I really highly recommend, if you haven't, go back and watch some of the videos that are on the YouTube Orlando Magic page, especially the intro. It's a 13-minute intro. It's like a Star Wars, Star Trek parody piece with Pat Williams. Rest in peace, man.
Yeah,
I got choked up, man, when they were mocking Star Trek and the shot on the inside of the Star Trek spaceship. I'm sorry, Trekkies out there. I don't know the name of the spaceship. Peach, do you have that? Do you have the name of the ship?
USS Enterprise.
Okay, so as if they're on the USS Enterprise, and they kind of fade away. They're getting teleported, and then Pat Williams is alone on the screen for a moment, and then he fades away and gets kind of teleported somewhere else. And man, when he faded away, dude, we talked about his passing on another show, and I didn't live down in Orlando, so I didn't have that same connection, but seeing this zany ass video of him just having fun with the intro to the preseason, it kind of reminded me, shit, like that's why we do Court Cousins. You know, he's an entertainer, man. That guy was just having fun. He didn't take himself too seriously, and it just really hit. I'm sorry to go on a little bit of a tangent here, but it hit the heartstrings. And if we're talking about jerseys, Peach, we better see a PW on those jerseys this year. You know,
well, the PW has been confirmed. I have seen that already.
Good.
I'm going to have a PW on there.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, if you're watching this on video, you got to watch me go from I completely disagree with this man to all right, you won me over silently while you were talking. But I think that's the wrestling fan in me that can always get talked into, oh, they're feuding over that? Yeah. All right, okay.
Yeah.
I'm in. Because at first I think like they always like to get your hopes up, like they're going to throw it back to that era, right? And then they just disappoint you. So maybe you shouldn't get your hopes up for it. And I telling you now, please tamper those so that you're not as disappointed when they just throw that Kingdom shit at us. But I will say on the Kingdom on the Rise, I like the slogan. I'm down with it. Check that out. Disney, Magic Kingdom. It's a big reason why Orlando's on the map. Let's be honest. So I'm okay with using that Kingdom on the Rise, but just do it better. Like it didn't really feel like they're meant to be like a city edition jersey that connects with something in the city that like, even if it's something like an airport, like Portland did, or you know what I mean? It's something, it's tiny, but sometimes it's something that actually connects to the city. And ours just feels like a big miss. I've never heard anyone go, oh, well, that's from the church sign on Church Street over here on 8th Avenue, and you know, or the very first building that was built in Orlando, that's the font on the side. There's nothing. Give me something. Like give me something that makes sense, or make it full like we're a kingdom. These are dragon scales on this thing where there's so many opportunities there, and it feels like they were starting to think of ideas, and then they were like, oh shit, just do that. Yeah, send that one Miss Steve made. Just okay. We forgot. We ran out of time. His was complete. He had all the logos on there, but it's like, just put some time in and do the thing right. I don't know. It's not that hard. You got people that want to buy the jerseys. You want to sell the jerseys. That's why you're making an extra jersey. So it needs to be something that fans want, right? Like it can't be something that's just going to sit on your clearance shelves. That's like not the point of this thing.
Yeah. And we have such good history to draw on. Like we can do better. We can do better.
Yeah, it's sad.
I hope you're right. I think you're right. I think I
hope you're right. I hope those come back, because if from a standpoint of Pat Williams passing, it would make sense to go back to the jerseys they had when he was first there.
Right.
I felt like they were going to save those for the 40-year anniversary, but they might bump them up because of that.
Right.
And that's the only reason I think they bump them up. Otherwise, I think we see them at the 40-year.
Yeah. Well, whatever it is, Peach, even if it's Magic, the Kingdom on the Rise shit jersey, if it's got a PW, I'm getting a jersey this year. I want a PW on there.
Make it Magic.
Yes, baby. Yes, baby. Thank you, Pat Williams. Okay, Peach, and this is why I'm so happy today, right? Well, I'm hanging out with my cousin, Pat Williams, talking about it. The ultimate entertainer, never took themselves too seriously. You had the idea. Well, we were talking about what segment should we do, and Peach said, let's go back to original episodes. So I went back to episode 3, which was the first episode we ever published publicly on YouTube, and the first segment on there, outside of Social Media Roundup and the Large Ending, which I don't even know if Large Ending was on there at the time, was Magic the Sports Card Gathering, or Magic the Card Gathering, where Peach and I dig into our collections of cards. We like to collect cards. It's something that has also connected us throughout the years, all the way from childhood to now large child adulthood. And we get to dig in and talk about these cards and some stories that surround them. So Peach made the categories, and Peach, you spun the wheel. And what categories did you come out with, sir? What's the first one?
Today's first category is rookies.
Ooh. Okay. Well, Peach, I'm getting really sentimental this episode then. I talked about how you're, King Peach, how I love doing this show with you. And look at this. This is what...
I'm only the king of your kingdom, sir, but I'll take it.
Well, it's a kingdom on the rise, Peach, so...
It is a kingdom on the rise.
People are going to hear about it soon, all right? But look at what Peach got me here. Look at that. New breed. Jonathan Isaac, the defensive, the big anomaly. Signing Judah. I love that signature. This man, Jonathan Isaac rookie card. Yes.
It's a little weird that he uses a nickname. It'd be like if I signed my name Peach, but I guess
you would. You might.
Because a lot of people know me as that. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. For my rookie, I've also selected J.I. We have not talked. This is a Gem Mint 10.
Woo!
Look, here's the deal. We have not talked about this man on the show. I definitely had some posts cut out, and I gave you all the stuff that I had found, and I hit you with like probably 25 different things yesterday that you got text to your phone, all these different messages. Now I know there was at least 2 or 3 in there about this man that I'm kind of a little disappointed did not make the cut.
Sorry.
I'm going to force my opinions in here. This man is taking on the challenge of being everything that I've wanted him to be. He knows he needs to play more. He needs to be more consistent. He's put on weight, ladies and gentlemen. I'm so excited to hear about him putting on the weight. You can tell he wants to commit to being a player that plays in the post and has some beef so he doesn't get pushed out. This guy, I'm so excited for him this season. And I think the Orlando Magic's entire season, how far we go, is going to be based on how well Jonathan Isaac can play and how many games he can play. If he puts in the same kind of effort it's been over the last couple of years where it's spotting, but it's good, we'll end up in the same area. If he can come in and play like the near all-star potential defensive player of the year, or at least on the defensive teams list, and plays all season, then that's when we're playing for second or third in the Eastern Conference. That's the key. I think he's the key factor, because we didn't really add a lot other than KCP to this team, but we're forgetting that this guy has not played a full season at full bore yet, and he's ready to do it. He sounds ready to do it. He's saying all the right things. I feel like he's ready to go. And for the first time in maybe his entire career, this guy is ready to be back on the train. I'm ready to welcome Dad back into the fold. All the comparisons we've made on the show in the past, where he is like the absent dad that comes and leaves, and you want to love him, but you can't, and all that. If you're a fan of the show, you know. If you're not, you're confused. But either way, I'm ready to be all in on Jonathan Isaac this year. I like what I'm hearing, and I want to like what I'm seeing out there consistently. And I wish him the best in health, because I feel like it's time for J.I. to rise this season, and he's their key factor.
Woo! Yes, the big anomaly. I certainly hope he's not spotting. That would be a whole different problem for Jonathan Isaac. But, I mean, this man, he was just given a 4-year contract extension, right? It's going to take him into... It added another. I don't have it in front of me. Spot Track changed it up. What bastards? They didn't know that they were doing that. 4-year.
The numbers don't matter. We talked about it. We know it's a big contract and he needs to deliver on it, but he sounds ready to.
Well, I do have it here now. He's through 28-29 with this contract extension. Like you said, Peesh, he came back. He's put on weight, which has been made a big deal. I think he said like 30 pounds. That's crazy. I mean, that is... in 3 months, like that's bonkers. 3-4 months. This man, the Lord is really with this man. If he's put on 30 pounds in 3 or 4 months, that is impressive.
He's definitely been having his daily bread.
He certainly has, dude. His cup runneth over. And that, you know, when you brought that up, I love and I don't love that. Like, you're telling me the man who's had more knee problems than anyone I know is putting on weight? I thought the whole idea with big men now was, you know, staying kind of sleeker, having a sleeker frame. But, hey, I trust, and this is a crazy thing to say for our Magic fans, right? I trust in the training staff that has been rebuilt over the past 3 years. I trust in the leadership of Weltman down to Mosley. And if they were instructing, hey, you know, J.I., we want you to put on some muscle so that we can see you bang down low with the fives, because we tried that against the Cavs and it did not go well. Mosley tried to play a little bit of a trick card by throwing J.I. in to start that series at the 5. Did not go well. We got blown out those first 2 games. And maybe that would have happened with or without J.I. at the 5. Not necessarily his fault. It just didn't work then. But it sounds like, in hearing Coach Mosley talk during the after practice scrimmages, he just wants to see J.I. build on next year. He's not committing. Coach Mosley isn't committing to he's going to play regular minutes, which I hope he can. J.I. says that he feels like he can play those minutes. But Mosley, always tempering, always a good leader, never saying too much, just continue to build on last year. He says he wants J.I. to stretch the floor, which we saw some pretty decent shot efficiency from J.I. from 3, especially when he was open. But what struck me, Peesh, is that Mosley said we're going to put the ball in his hands a little bit more. He's going to be a playmaker a little bit more, and we really want him to bump with those 5s. So it's not going to be, I don't think, outlandish to see way more of Jonathan Isaac at the 5. maybe as one of the first substitutions for Wendell Carter at the beginning of the season. And then as the season progresses, if he stays healthy, knock on wood, there's wood here. We're praying to every deity. Come on, please, Lord, baby Jesus. If there's one man you must protect, it's Jonathan Isaac. If he stays healthy, who knows where he's playing by the end of the season.
Yeah, I think, you hear the weight thing and it makes you think, oh, he's becoming Shaq-sized. He's not. He's going to an acceptable weight for his height. He's a tall guy.
Yeah.
Right? He's much taller than me, and now he's my weight.
Okay, fair.
So it's not like we're adding an insane amount of weight to a guy and putting a lot of extra pressure on his knees. A man his size should be that big. He was skinny for his height.
No, that's fair. That's helpful to see. Can you maybe stand up and do just like a turnaround just so the fans can get like an idea of...
I can't tell you. I used to be this belt size.
Okay.
And then I went to this belt size. But, I can lend him my belt if he wants to get into my range. But, if you watch the outtakes, maybe you'll see more on why that belt thing's a thing.
Oh, please help us out on the Patreon, folks. $5 a month. Buy us a beer a month. That's all it is. Like if you saw us out at a bar in Orlando once a month, wouldn't you come over and do the generous thing and say, hey, let me buy you a beer, man. I listen. Let's have a conversation. We would love that.
And then we'll get the next one.
Yeah, of course. Hope to see you down there for Court Cousins Night, December 26th. We're plugging everything right now, baby. What's the next category?
Shiny.
Ooh, shiny.
This is just where we pick a card that's really shiny and we show it to you.
Okay. Hold on.
I have a big backstory.
What do you got for this one, Peach?
For this one, I've got this Anthony Black variant, the sideways variant. It's also the blue variant. Ooh. It's quite shiny, and it's also numbered to 199, so limited editions.
Ooh, Peach.
AB. Where do you think AB is going to end up? I know where he's going to end up in my binder. Where do you think he's going to end up on the roster?
I love that you're bringing this up, Peach. This is one of the big questions I have starred in my notebook right now. I have it starred as big question. And I think, I'm going to spin this question a little bit in a second, but I think Anthony Black, based on what I'm hearing out of training camp, is that he is solidly in that second unit. We've got Anthony Black, Cole, Moritz, J.I. named kind of as the backup unit as Mosley's talking. Like he was asked about how he's, pairing different guys or how he's running different groups together in practice. And he came out and straight up named those four guys almost solidly as the backup unit. And who is going to step in and be that fifth guy on that second on our reserve lineup? That is a really interesting question. And how deep do you think Mosley goes here? I mean, that's 10 deep, 11 deep, 12 deep. How many guys a game going to be getting playing time? I think Anthony Black, it sounds like, has solidly put himself into that reserve role. He has impressed in the way that is important for this team. Everyone is talking that this team hangs their hat on defense. And, Anthony Black hasn't necessarily had the opportunities to show himself as an offensive basketball player too much. He's been asked to really just be a spot-up three-point shooter, which he did at a better clip than I expected, and I think many Magic fans expected, with, this kind of set shot that took a little time. It seems like that's speeding up a little bit, and if that efficiency continues, awesome. But are we going to see Anthony Black be able to do a little bit more offensively and take over some of those ball-handling duties with Cole Anthony on that second unit? Is coach going to trust him to be that lead guard on the second unit and have Cole be more that microwave scorer off ball, just running off picks and causing havoc, maneuvering through the lane and getting open at the line, at the three-point line? That's going to be interesting for me. Peach, do you see Anthony Black solidly in that reserve role as well?
Yeah, I have just as much to go on with AB as everyone else does, right? So it's not like I've seen any more. But I do feel like he's probably earned a spot on that second roster. He looked good when he got a chance to play last year. I feel like because he didn't have a consistent role in where he came in, I think that really kind of hurt him. But I feel like right now they've worked it in so that he'll be that guy off the bench. And honestly, the way I see it is now with Markelle Fultz out of town, for all those people that don't think Jalen Suggs and KCP can handle bringing the ball up, I know Anthony Black can handle the ball. So I feel like he's next in line if something happens with one of those guys, or if maybe down the line he wants to switch and have KCP come off the bench or Suggs come off the bench. I love the fluidity we have potentially with our roster. And he's a big part of it because when he was drafted, he'd only played 1 year of college. We didn't know a ton about him. We knew he was a good defender, pretty good ball handler, but he is still a young babe, man. I mean, he is still growing, right? Like he's actually physically probably still growing. So, I mean, it where he can go and what his ceiling is, we don't know yet because we don't know how tall he's going to even finish being when he's done growing. And that's metaphorical and actual, to be honest with you. So I like that he has this upside, and I like that he's going to get a regular spot on this bench, at least in the beginning, to prove that he can do that. And if he does that well, it'd probably be his all season. But at least he's getting a shot to do it, right? We have other guys that we could try stepping up into that role, the Jet Howards. We have the veteran Gary Harris. We have some other guys that we could pop into that role. We even have Corey Joseph in there. He's a backup point guard, let's be real. So, like, he'll get his opportunity, see how it goes, probably 10, 15 games, and then if you got to make a change, you make a change. But I feel like it should be his role to have a shot at. When you draft a guy that high, you got to give him a shot with some playing time at some point. This will be it.
Yeah. Solidly regular rotation, because he's so smart on the defensive side of the ball. And if there's any place, Peach, that he's going to have an offensive outburst, it's going to be in Dallas, Texas, against those Dallas Mavericks, which is a game I'm really wanting to go to if the finances can make it right. Come visit you at in early November. So any other Magic fans out there listening in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, let us know if that's something. Maybe we can get a little meetup happening in Dallas too, Peach. That would be fun for the AB game of the year.
Last year we had Jay out here all the way from Australia, for crying out loud. My buddy Aaron was in town from Vermont. We had a little gathering.
Yeah.
But this year we will promote it a little bit more. It'll be like a not like a full blown Court Cousins night, because we're not going to get on the court cutting down the Mavs net.
Right.
Although maybe I can get you on the ice underneath. But yeah, that's we'll do something. If you come out, we'll definitely have a gathering of some sort. We'll see if we can gather some people. There's some more Magic fans in this area than really ought to be, honestly. But the Anthony Black fans were out in droves last time. So
yeah. So maybe you're just an Anthony Black fan listening to this segment, which we've now chopped up, and shout out to Jay for making the thumbnail, and you just want to come through and hang out with Court Cousins, your new friends. Let's do it. Let's have a good time. Let's meet people. But Peach, I want to get to that question that I kind of teased earlier, is who's coming into that fifth role, right? Who, if the second unit, as we just talked about, we both kind of feel like Anthony Black is in, Cole is in, Moritz is in, J.I. is in, or when that, like, Franz being staggered there, who's going to be a fifth guy? You got to think that Mosley's going to go deep with 10 guys for every game because of just the depth of this team. Who else is in there? Who do you see making it? Is it Tristan da Silva? Is it the wily vet guard in Gary Harris? Has Caleb Houston, with that shooting, done enough in that big size? What about Jet Howard? That we drafted that guy 2 years ago, number 11 overall. Who is playing for you, Peach, in that last role? How's that going to go?
Well, I think to start off, it's probably going to be Gary Harris, but I think da Silva is going to slot in there pretty quickly. It sounds like people are more impressed with him than we even thought. And I think we may have found a steal in this draft from everything that we're kind of hearing out there. And it'll be nice to see. But I think Mose is going to want to see that too, right? He's going to want to see what he can deliver. But he's always had a soft spot for the veterans to go in there first because he trusts them and he knows what they bring. So until that rest of that backup group is playing well together and, AB's in the fold and all that stuff, I think Gary slots in well there. And then when they're comfortable, that's when you try da Silva in there. I mean, this is just a theory that I have, but I think that's probably the way they're going to go. I still think Jet Howard is a big swing and a miss by us, but maybe I'm wrong there. I just don't think he fits that spot off the bench. I think he'd be more in the just a shooting guard there to chuck it up kind of deal. I don't know if he has the defensive intensity to get minutes with our squad.
Yeah, I'll start right there. I think that is the big question around Jet is, has he gotten good enough on the defensive side of the ball? We all know that he could chuck it up, that he can shoot it. He's been talking about consistent intensity at practice. And, he knows that if he is going to get onto the court, he's going to have to play defense. So That's the big question mark. And just quickly kind of looking at Tristan da Silva through the summer league games and what you can see in his highlights from college, he seems like one of those guys that is just intuitively defensive minded. He just already kind of understands the positioning on the floor. I'm sure part of it is that, and I'm sure part of it is he's worked really fucking hard in his life to become a better player and to look at film and to be a smart guy. I just think he probably brings more right out the gate than Jet this season. And so I agree with you. I would love to see Tristan da Silva in there. I mean, the way that his shot is quick, man. It's high release. Like, he is smart. He doesn't try to do too much. I think he fits in anywhere. Wendell Carter Jr. was joking in the post practice stuff. Tristan da Silva came over to the media scrum and asked him, "Hey, what do you think about the Rook?" And Wendell was joking, but I think part of it is serious. He's like, "Man, this dude reminds me of Franz Wagner." He said, just look at Franz Wagner, eat what he eats, practice when he practices, do what he does, and you'll be making a lot of money. And everyone had a laugh at that. Franz just got that max extension. But I mean, we might be the ones laughing. And like you said, because we got a steal in this draft, because this kid looks good. Now, he is an older rookie. He's older than Jet. So as much as we might get into turmoil and say, "Oh, Jet was number 11 and he's got to play. We invested so much." Yes, you're right. We did as a team, but also he's younger than da Silva, I think, by a couple years still. So it wouldn't be the craziest thing for da Silva to come in. I think there's a path for Jet to get some time in certain games. I don't think it would be crazy if coach goes 11-12 deep some games, if it's a team that we're really putting it on. But Jet seems...
The Wizards.
I always try to circle those games. Like the Nets, this year, they're going to be shit. So those are games that I can get to in the Northeast where the tickets are cheap. And it's fun to get there, sit really good. But that's a tangent. For Jet, he's saying all the right things publicly. I hope he's really meaning it, that, he sees the vision for himself. Coach Mosley's made it really clear, like, what guys' roles are. And those guys at the end of the bench, they're going to have to get in when they get in. Every few games, Coach Mosley said, maybe. So he's got to make the best of those moments. And then maybe the plan is further for Jet. Coach Weltman is obsessed with length, positional length. And as much as we love Cole Anthony, it's very clear he doesn't fit into that mold. And I know he just got an extension last year, but that extension will run out right around the time that Jet Howard is inking his rookie extension. So maybe the long-term plan is like, "Hey, Jet, just hang around. You're going to be getting some more minutes, not maybe this year, but next year." Will Jet Howard be okay with that? I don't know. It would take a lot of maturity to understand and see that vision and buy into the team in that way for a guy who's probably been one of the best players or the best player every step of the way. I'm really interested in Jet Howard this year, Peach. I hope he touches the floor, because that is a lot. Like, if it's just a guy that we've been stashing for not this year but next year and the year after, number 11 pick, that's a lot for that. And I think it speaks to the depth. I don't know. I don't know if Gary Harris gets minutes, honestly. I think he might be end-of-the-bench guy. I think he might be accepting that role. I might disagree with you a little bit of that. I think Tristan da Silva wins that job out of training camp. I just feel that way. I don't know.
I'm for that. I'm for that. I just was asked what I think is going to happen, and I'm going to go with Gary Harris. But you know me, I'm not a huge Gary fan. I mean, yeah, I like what he can. I like what he can do from time to time. I think his best years are behind him, and I'd rather see da Silva in there. So I think he will get it at some point. Do you think he'll start there? I'm cool with it. Hopefully that's true.
Okay, my ooh shiny. No, I have to do my ooh shiny. I didn't do mine. Really quickly, Peach, and this is just a moment here.
Yep. Shout
out. I have a simple select, but it's a variant. It's the red, white, and blue variant, or the orange, blue, and white. Markelle Fultz. Yep. And just wanted to say, Markelle, man, love that, watching that guy play. Didn't quite work out in the way that we thought, but gave us some excitement along the way. Surprised this guy hasn't signed, man. Someone signed this man, Peach.
Yeah.
What's going on?
I am too. I am too, a little bit. I think what's going on is that right now, I think in, well, most sports maybe, but in the NBA in particular, I think a young unknown talent is more interesting to teams than a guy we already know what he has, who has
Yep.
a history of injuries, has not been consistent. And while I think no one would disagree that his play is good, how good are his legs? Is he going to be able to, is it worth bringing this guy in? Is he going to be able to produce? You already know what you're going to get from Markelle Fultz. You don't know what you're going to get from the young guys on your roster. And I think people would rather take a shot on somebody becoming the next big thing versus a guy that we know who he is and what he brings.
Has struggled.
I can still hear the scuttlebutt about like, well, Corey Joseph, why, it's the same. Well, we just had to switch something up. I don't think he was a good fit for what we did, but I'm really surprised some other team did not bring him in for camp. I don't think he'll get through the whole season without being picked up somewhere, to be honest. I think at some point when teams have evaluated some of their younger talent or figured out who their vets are and injuries start to become a thing after the first quarter of the season, someone's going to need a ball handler somewhere. Markelle Fultz is probably one of the best unsigned names on the list. So,
man, I always need a ball handler. I'm talking to Nadra about that constantly. All right, let's move on to the next one.
All right. The next one is they played in Orlando, which is usually where we find a card of a guy that we were like, oh, I forgot that guy played in Orlando. Unless you're a real old head like myself or you're really into the cards, you may have totally forgotten it. So we like to try to remind you here. Who do you have up there, Kyle?
All right, I got this guy, a well-known name. He was a baller for quite some time, but for the Houston Rockets more, Cuttino Mobley. Just an upper deck classic, old one, man. Not a very long stint in Orlando, Peach. I think he played all of 23 games. But, man, he shot the rock pretty damn good. 46% from beyond the arc for those 23 games that he was in Orlando on 5.5 attempts. I don't remember too much. Cuttino Mobley
was a really good player for the Houston Rockets.
Yeah, I mean, if he
like
could have
when we got him and Steve Francis, that was a
big shit.
We were like, whoa.
Right. Yeah, no. I remember that vaguely. But Mobley didn't stick around. I don't remember exactly all the machinations of that. Let me know in the comments. If he could play defense, man, we could use a 46% shooter this year. That would be pretty cool. Holy crap, Well,
Mobley is retired a long time ago. He's not young enough to be still playing in the NBA. Speaking of somebody who's I don't think playing in the NBA.
Yeah. Who do you got?
My they played in Orlando is Patrick Beverley. For some reason, this card was made after the trade deadline. It's got the Magic logo on it, so it has to be in my collection, even though he never suited up for the Orlando Magic. So the answer to they played in Orlando is no, he didn't. But he appears on this card. And he mispronounces our players' names constantly on his podcast because he's, for some reason, butthurt about it.
Oh, my God, Peach. That is a classic card. Where the hell did you... Oh, man, I wish I would have with you when you got that card. Where did you find that, dude?
It's just part of the optics set. It's just a basic card. They did it after the trade deadline, so they're like, oh, let's put him in the new gear.
Oh, my God. Like, come on. They don't have anyone that's kind of in with the NBA that could have been like, just give it 24 hours. He won't be with the team anymore. Like, they must have made that card set.
They move fast. Fast.
Like, what? They made that card set in the 30 hours that he was with the team?
Yeah, somewhere there was a meeting, and that was missed. And they just were like, print him.
That's an absolute awesome card for a man who has
absolutely... is that there's versions of this card that are probably 1 of 1, 10, numbered to 10, variants of this that like people keep, but it has almost no value just because it's short numbered. So that'd be
I kind of covet that now, actually. If anyone out there has a Pat Bev like 1 of 10 or 9 of 10 in not a Magic uniform, in a Lakers uniform with the Magic logo on it, shit, that would be a cool card to have just for fun. An amazing card for a man who talks a lot about shit about Orlando Magic. What's next, Peach?
Next up is Photo Butte. So this is a card that displays a player. It's a beautiful shot. There's not a lot of cards. Modern cards now are just kind of taking the guy, put some shiny silver backgrounds behind him and stuff like that. And you don't always get a nice, good action shot. So it's getting a little harder to find, but that's what this category is for, is those Photo Buttes.
Yeah. I think I actually liked this photo I have of Jalen Suggs just right on the hoops base right there, because he's like passing behind the back of a player, of a Lakers player, which is a nice shot. You don't, as I said, it's really tough for these new cards. But that was a time when Jalen would get me into frustration, when he would kind of leave his feet right under the basket. Oh God, you kind of hold your breath. But we already talked about that, so I'm going to force Cole Anthony into the segment, Pish. I'm going to go ahead and bring out Cole Anthony. Nope. Pish is like, holy shit. Yeah, why do you have Cole Anthony too? Let me see. What do you have?
No, I really thought that the part of the reason that you were bringing that Jalen Suggs up is that you can tell because we're wearing these uniforms and they're playing the Lakers, and they only wore these uniforms for one season, and there was one game where they wore them at home against the Lakers. We were at that game. So I thought that's why you selected, because we were at that game.
Yes, we were at that game. That was annoying because there was all the Lakers fans
sat in the
around.
Lakers section.
Oh God, let's go, fans. Let's go, second cousins out there. We need to get in the Kia Soul Center. We need to do it this year.
Yeah, I mean, you're always going to have some away fans at your games, but let's go ahead and not have whole sections devoted to the away team. Let's make that home atmosphere come back. My photo butte is this Photogenics, which is a absolutely awesome set of cards. Yeah. Shot of Wendell Carter about to just bring the pain down on the rim with a earth-shattering dunk. Wendell, we have not talked about a lot on this show yet today. I feel like he's a key cog. Like I said, I think J.I. is going to be a big factor as far as how we go. And the only reason that isn't true is if Wendell Carter steps up and plays as forcefully as this jam is probably about to be. He is a guy that, like, if he plays well, we pretty much win. If he's out there middling it out, it's going to be a tough day out there. So a lot of what we do actually does depend on how well he does as well. I don't have high expectations for him. I feel like we know who he is now. Yeah, I know what he's going to deliver. He plays amazing against the Chicago Bulls and just kind of mid against most other teams. And once in a while, he'll have a breakout game where he drops 30. So it's like, I don't know what to do with this guy. He's not super consistent all the time. He doesn't always look confident in what he's doing either, which, goes with the fact that you're not always having regularity. Hopefully he can find that, because he could be that guy that's more important to this team than J.I. if he steps up and can play at a not all-star level, because I don't even aspire for him to get there anymore. Back when we were talking about earlier, at one point I thought he might be our next all-star, but he clearly is not going to be that guy. But I just need him to be a consistent guy on a more regular basis and do his thing. He's a good defender. He's just a little undersized for playing some of those big men inside. He shoots the ball really well from the outside for what he's got. Personally, I would have liked to have seen us try to wheel him out of town this year, and I've made that pretty clear. But he's here, and he needs to step up as everyone else is stepping up around him. He can't just fade into the background and let those guys do what they want to do and try to stay out of their way. We need you to play a big 3-4. We need you to be a factor on this squad going forward. If he plays well and J.I. can play well, there is no limit to what this team can do. But because I know and don't trust in what Wendell can bring, that's why I think, maybe we're only third or fourth in the Eastern Conference, or maybe fifth. If he's playing at a just below all-star level and J.I. is playing at a defensive level that's blowing nines, I mean, at some point you got to think about swapping these guys in the starting lineup if he can't deliver. That's fair. The end of my Wendell Carter rant.
That's fair. And I think that is a fair take. Wendell has burned me on more bets than, the fire department, dude. It's been tough. Like, how many times have I bet on Wendell to have 10 rebounds as your starting center, and he just comes up with an eight rebound game? And it's just, it can't happen. He needs to be more active. I know Paolo Banchero is a big rebounder down there, and we've got some guards who like to rebound the ball, but you're the center, big man. All right. You need to step into that ethos. More big man shit, Peach. And we just haven't seen it. He's a tremendous screen setter, but I want to see that really hard roll to the basket and either receive and finish at the basket, or be ready to set your body and get a rebound for whoever else is going there. Yeah, look at that. We need more of that. More of that. More big man shit. Or if you're going to, pick and pop, he has been shooting the ball well. Let's see it. Let's see it. The Coutinho Mobley 5 times a game and shoot at close to, high 30s, that would be valuable. That will be valuable. I'll take that too. Very frustrating player.
He's a good shooting big man. He's a good shooting big man.
Yeah.
He really ought to be more in the player comparisons of a Cat.
Yes.
And he really isn't, right? Like no one would compare him to him. He's like he's like the wish.com version of Cat. And it's like, well, can you just at least get up to like Amazon.com version? Because like you need to step up a bit.
Yeah. And do we even want him to do that though? I don't want, if Wendell Carter is shouldering that much of the offensive load that a Karl Anthony Towns would, I think something has gone horribly wrong, and I don't know if I'm happy to watch that Orlando Magic team. I just want him to rebound the damn basketball, set good picks, and rebound the damn basketball. Did I say rebound the basketball? I want the man to rebound the basketball. Like, I love that you're the one that's pushing big man shit. I'm here for that. But look, honestly, anyone in the Orlando Magic uniform that wants to fucking hit threes consistently, go ahead and fucking shoot them. I don't care who you are or how big you are. Somebody needs to make them consistently this season so we can put fucking points on the board, because you can't win all those games with just defense, Jamal. I'm telling you, got to put the ball. That is so true. Okay, I think that rounds out our Magic the Card Gathering segment. That was a good one. Let us know what you think about that in the comments. Are you also card collectors out there? You have any other cards you want to share with us? Let us know. Okay, Peesh. It's that time. First one of the season. The large ending. Where is that button, sir? Where is it today?
The button's over here on this now defunct Frisco Fighters football.
Oh, there it is. Now defunct. Oh, poor Frisco Fighters. All right, I'm the first one, Peesh. You sent over this post here about Vince and T-Mac in Bills gear. Looks like they're on the field. When was this taken? Are Vince and T-Mac now a part of the Bills Mafia, Peesh? And I imagine you feel good about that.
Yeah, this was recent. I think they are part of the Mafia. A lot of people in Toronto. Buffalo is the closest NFL team.
Okay.
So there's a lot of back and forth there. So a lot of people from Toronto are. So they probably became fans when they were there. And of course, two men growing up in the area they did in Florida, they didn't necessarily attach themselves to the Bucks or the Dolphins, apparently. But there's a lot of crossover here with the Orlando Magic and the Bills, and I love it because I love the Bills Mafia, and I'm hoping that the Orlando Mafia could become a thing where we're breaking tables, serious, and we're making people afraid to come visit us in our place. But I love to see two Magic guys wearing the Bills stuff. It just warms my heart. But there's a couple guys that work for the Magic that are Bills fans. We're out there. Keon Coleman, actually, with the new rookie receiver for the Bills. They was quoted. They were doing one of those things where you name a random NBA player. One of the first names out of his mouth, Marcin Gortat. We know where he played, right? I mean, he picked a random player. But this is a guy who's like 18, 19 years old, and he pulled out Marcin Gortat. So I feel like he also is respecting the Magic there.
That is respect.
I like to see these things. It's just two teams that don't have. Orlando doesn't have an NFL team, and Buffalo doesn't have a basketball team. So I feel like there's a little bit of a little sister city action going on there. Let's go. Let's keep it going. Two teams that haven't won a championship, right? Like we've been close a few times, but failed. Both cities would probably burn if we won one because people would go insane. But aren't we here for that kind of mess?
Yes.
Say we are. Let's go. They're the only two teams I have that have won a championship, so let's go.
Let's break some tables outside the Kia Center, baby. Maybe Court Cousins Night we'll bring a table.
Speaking of places where they're partying outside here in Dallas, the boys are off to a rough start. What are your thoughts so far on the way America's team is looking right now? Because they're not looking great.
Not great, yeah. The defensive side of the ball looks all out of sorts since we let our defensive coordinator go to a head coaching, Dan Quinn, to a head coaching spot. It has not been pretty. The secondary is just riddled with injury, and teams are passing all over us. I went to the game. I went to the Giants-Cowboys Thursday Night Football game last week, and it was the ugliest, most boring win I've ever seen. I think the Giants had the ball most of the time, and they still lost the game. They lost that more than we won that. And if we're just barely beating the Giants, nah, it doesn't feel like it's gonna be a good Cowboys season. Now, on the other side of things, as a Cowboys fan, they always play awesome in the regular season and they choke in the playoffs. Maybe this is the regular season where we limp in You know, we don't play so hot in the regular season and then turn the Jets on right at the right time. I'd much prefer that than the contrary.
Yeah, get healthy late in the season. That could be.
Yeah.
Long season.
The NBA season, Peach, has already kicked off with preseason games. The Orlando Magic are playing tomorrow, 1 p.m. as our first preseason game. Will you watch any preseason games, Peach? Do you think you're going to catch any?
They got a 1 p.m. game on a Monday?
Yeah.
There's just no chance of that.
Well, I know, but it recorded. You will have it on NBA TV or NBA package.
Oh, yeah. No, probably not going to watch that.
Oh, my God, people. This is what I'm dealing with.
I don't watch preseason in any sport. No sport do I watch preseason.
There's important information you can glean, Peach. You can glean some really important information from these preseason games.
I mean, maybe. Sure. I'm sure I'll see highlights enough to watch it, but I usually don't watch it because usually by preseason game 3 or 4 at least, it's guys that aren't going to play much at all, which is beneficial if you want to be able to talk about the 13th and 14th guy on the bench for a podcast. But honestly, even we don't talk about those guys.
No,
we didn't talk about some of the guys in the starting lineup today, so we don't need to worry about the guys that aren't going to play. I saw a post the other day of the 4 guys that are kind of new to the team. Didn't recognize one of those names, nor did I get a notification when we brought them in. I don't know who they are. They ain't playing, so they're going to enjoy some preseason and some lovely catering. The WNBA playoffs are going on?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know about this? Who's in them? You watch them?
Not really. I mean, I pay attention a little bit on the ESPN app. I think the Connecticut Sun are still in. I think. I'm not 100% sure on that one.
Yeah, you know more than I do. I was just checking to see if anyone, because I heard WNBA numbers were up, record numbers, all this, that, and the other thing.
It hasn't reached us yet.
I don't see the commercials. I don't see the hype. Unless I happen to check the ESPN app or something like that. I'll see a little blurb about Aces versus blah 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 tonight, and it's like, oh, they're already on game 2 of that series. I mean, I haven't even heard about the playoffs starting. They don't do a great job of marketing it. The only thing you really see lately is Caitlin Clark up your ass.
Yeah, right.
And it's Oh, okay, but is she even in the playoffs? Probably not.
No, I think she's out now.
Okay, they would probably have marketed it better if she was in, I'm guessing. Your league has to be more about something than just one person. Eventually it needs to be about more.
Yeah, I guess it will be maybe one day. Now, Peach, so we're going to be down in Florida in Orlando for the 26th. I think we're going to go to the game on the 27th, maybe the 29th. In between is WWE. There's something happening down there. You're stoked about it. What do I need to know? Is there a storyline you're hoping to see play out in December? Projecting ahead.
It's early. So
I know. It's not too far. It's a month. Couple months,
but there's a lot of big events in front of that'll tell us what's going to happen there. That's going to be a house show, so nothing storyline wise is really going to be going on. Normally I wouldn't go to house shows. I don't go to house shows anymore, but because we're there and it's going to be fun and Jay wants to come, and I think it'll be a blast just to go and go for it. Sometimes the house shows they have towards the end of the year, they have a lot of big guests there. It wouldn't surprise me if The Rock was at this one. Some of the house shows, they'll roll out people for special things because it's not on TV, so it doesn't hurt the storyline. It's just a fun night of professional wrestling where they don't have to worry about a long-term storyline. It's just tonight. I don't like them in also part because usually at house shows the good guys win, and I usually like to root for the bad guys. Okay. So I'm I don't want to go to an event where it's just all the good guys winning, so everyone can be like, yay, happiness. Oh, it's no, I need some bad guys to rip shit up.
Can we start the Magic Mafia maybe that day and put Tyrese Halliburton through a table? Or was that AEW? I don't know. Is that WWE?
No, that was NXT. That was a WWE thing in Orlando. You said it.
I made a good reference. I made an accurate reference. Yes.
You did. And that didn't make the show because that happened while we were away. But Tyrese Halliburton, we're coming for you, sucker. All right. Speaking of coming for you, Tony Hinchcliffe on the awesome Kill Tony podcast and show that I've been watching a lot on YouTube lately and catching up on, went to task on Bridgeport, Connecticut recently. Yeah. I asked you about it briefly before the show. You said you hadn't heard it. You're going to have to go see it. Speak some words on Bridgeport's behalf because it came under fire.
Look, okay, Tony, I know you're in your fucking ivory tower over there in Austin. You think you're hot shit. You're making all this money. Oh, I'm so cool, and I'm the comedian kingmaker now. Woo-doo-doo-doo-doo. But, bro, you wouldn't survive a day on these streets in Bridgeport, baby. We'll eat suckers like you alive. I do...
Because it gets stabbed with a rusty knife.
Yes, exactly. You know... It's a tough city. It's had some tough times, but I really enjoy it. We do have a comedy club downtown. The booker is pretty horrible and not the greatest of people from what I understand. So I think that's where some of the animosity comes from in terms of comedians, because that's their experience of the city.
Could be right.
It is also adjacent to a park where those that are without homes like to hang out quite often. So, you know, comedians come in there and they like to make a lot of homeless jokes. But, you know, Orlando, oh man, yeah, those are my people. I mean, Orlando fucking knows, dude. The homeless are crazy out in Orlando, dude. Remember when the homeless guy called me a faggot like 2 years ago? He really was trying to go at me, dude. He was trying.
Yeah,
I didn't even show it.
You and your drunken stupor were gonna start a conversation with him probably about how he shouldn't use that word, or why are you angry, sir? You were gonna try to do a check-in with him on the street.
No, I was not crunked at that time.
Man, we gotta keep it moving.
Oh man, I am so excited for all the times to come this season, Peesh. Thank you, Second Cousins, for joining us here. Episode 67. Woo! So excited to see you, Peesh, hopefully in Dallas. Everyone, Court Cousins Night. We got 10% battery remaining, so it's a perfect time to sign off and see you next time. Peace out, everybody.
Thanks for coming.